Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. This is part 1 of my recap for the 2022 anime My Isekai Life. The story begins as we see our protagonist named Yuji in a fight with the hideous beast. A fireball ends the fight instantly, and we are shown a strange crystal nearby. At the Adventurers Guild, a man named Gale tries to convince his group that he saw a slime using fire magic. They all laugh at him and assume he must have been dreaming. Yuji arrives back early from a job, and the receptionist sympathizes with him for giving up. However, he reveals that he hasn't quit, and his slime releases several plants, showing that Yuji just finished up early. The girl can't believe those are real and runs to get the branch chief. The other adventurers are stunned because they know that Yuji is just a tamer. Branch Chief Aegis arrives, very impressed with Yugi, and he agrees to buy all the flowers. They will be used to make potions, but he remarks how a peaceful village like theirs won't use them too often. Just then, a scout arrives and reports that at least 10,000 monsters have appeared in the woods. Yuji contacts his comrades out in the field, who explain that the monsters seem to be congregating somewhere. His comrades are revealed to be slime, and they discover that the monsters are headed toward the town. The chief understands that they are severely outnumbered and decides that everyone must leave the village. The adventurers want to stay and fight, but the chief has already decided. Just then, Yuji reveals that he has a plan, but the others don't think a tamer will be of much help. He explains that he can use a dragon's bone to recreate a dragon's flame, but can only do it once. Yuji is confident that the attack will wipe out all the monsters, but none of them have ever heard of such magic. Gale recognizes the slime though, and recommends they give his plan a shot. Everyone is given a potion made from the flowers, and the adventurers prepare for battle. Yuji contacts his proud wolf friend who is on his way to the town. The wolf is cowardly and takes the long route to avoid any fighting. He is ecstatic though when Yuji gives him a boost of speed. Yuji gets to his spot, and we see that the others are doing their best to attack the monsters from the sky. It doesn't work, and the real battle begins as we see Yuji feed the dragon's bone to his slime. He then uses his magic maker ability, which reveals several displays showing various magic attacks and skills. Yuji quickly searches through the endless list to find something that will keep the town safe while also attacking everything outside it. His other companion named Dryad explains that there is a mysterious person hanging around the woods. Yuji is able to see him on his display and notices that he carries a magic stone that is most likely the origin of the monsters. He asks that they attempt to capture him and promises that he will protect them. They make their approach, and we see that Yuji is able to transfer spells through the slime. They manage to capture the man while also dispelling the stone. However, before they can bring their captor in for questioning, he takes his own life. Proud Wolf has returned, and Yuji instructs some of the slime to help Gale's team. He transfers more magic through them, and Gale is proven correct about seeing fire-breathing slime. With Yuji's help, the men are now confident that they can hold the gate. Yuji is still concerned that he will destroy the village if he uses the dragon's breath, but comes up with an idea that will require precise use of his ability. Lily has been watching all along and is amazed to see Yuji's skill. He knows she's there and asks that she get Gale and the others back into town. He instructs all his slime to spread out at equal intervals around the town, and Dryad to head to safety underground. Everyone has retreated and the slimes are ready, but they find that Gale is still under attack. Another adventurer assists him, but the beast is too strong. They are ready to sacrifice their lives though, and ask that Yuji just go through with his plan. Yuji isn't sure if the slime will be able to help, but we see that it won't be necessary. Proud Wolf arrives to everyone's surprise and heroically rescues the two adventurers. With them out of the way, Yuji activates his spell transferring barrier, and everyone is amazed at how it manages to surround the entire town. Now that the town is protected, Yuji exclaims that he will burn everything else to ash. The attack is ferocious, and not a single person can understand how a tamer has so much power, stating that anyone else who tried using magic like this would destroy themselves. There are still a few monsters left, and we see that all that power comes with a price. His overuse of magic has caused him to lose quite a bit of health. However, he prepares for another strike, even against the pleas from Lily to save himself. The barrier goes back up, and Yuji unleashes his Hellfire of Demise one last time. The battle is over, but Yuji pays the price. Later, the chief's inspection in the woods seems to reveal something interesting, and they take all the evidence back to the village. Elsewhere, Yuji wakes to find Lily by his side. Everyone is celebrating the victory, and she reveals that they are all praising Yuji for saving them. She asks why he would try so hard to save a town he hardly even knew, but Yuji has no answer. When he is alone though, he thinks about the mundane life that he used to live. Lily returns later to find that he snuck out. and Yuji explains to the slime that he didn't want to cause a commotion. The chief would later admire how their hero left without the need for fame or fanfare. Lily notices their strange findings from the forest, and he explains that the man dead in the woods must be tied to the cult that they have been hearing about. We see that Yuji listened in on the conversation just as he arrives to his new destination. Elsewhere, a man explains to his subordinate that their target is an adventurer that no one seems to know much about. The next day, Yuji walks through a town but worries that their large group might be causing a scene. That feeling leaves though when they decide it's time to eat. Afterwards, Yuji tries to register with a guild but is seemingly about to be rejected for only being a tamer. However, the girl sees that he is also a tracker and accepts him instantly, explaining that trackers increase a party's chance of survival by 80%. He is approached by a party looking for another member. Their names are Tina, Lisa, and Rodis. Lisa is intrigued by the newcomer, but Rodis is extremely disappointed to hear that Yugi is a tamer. He explains that he doesn't need any more baggage, but Tina had heard that he is also a tracker. The girls reveal that they are more concerned about Rodis after hearing his last party ran off without him. They argue, and Yuji thinks about how it's the same everywhere when he remembers bickering at his old job. They agree to let Yuji join and discuss their mission to find where the Earth Dragon is hiding. They decide on a battle formation but leave Yuji out since he is only supposed to detect enemies. Their journey begins and Yuji contacts Proud Wolf, who explains that there are no enemies ahead. The slime proudly proclaim that they are ready for any monster that shows up, but are disappointed when Yuji instructs them to not attack anything. The wolf encounters some monsters and Yuji tells the group. The distance is extremely far though, and they hesitate to believe that Yuji is capable of detecting that far. Rodis is eager to find out though, and they're pleased to see that Yuji was correct. Yuji almost reacts to a monster's attack, but Rodis proves to be more than capable. The slime explained that they could have easily taken care of the beasts, but Yuji wanted to test his companion's strength. That night, the girls want to know how he became such a good tracker, but he doesn't really have a good answer, and says that one day he just realized he could do it. They think he is hiding something, but he just doesn't know how to explain it. They decide to take turns keeping watch and go to sleep. Yuji then remembers when he arrived in this world. He thought he was just delirious from working too hard, but quickly realized that was not the case. He is able to see a display with information on his current status. He is classified as a tamer and finds a slime that leads him to a small house. The place is filled with books, and Yuji is surprised to see that he is able to instantly learn abilities just by looking inside them. As a bonus, his HP and magic power go up as well. Several more slime appear and they make it clear that they would like to be tamed. After he does, Yugi is shocked to find that he learns abilities when each of them look inside books too. After that, he notices that his class went from tamer to sage, and the slime reveal that they can talk. He thinks about how it's only been a week since then, but is distracted when the slime report that his entire party left the camp. Rodis pauses for a moment and Proud Wolf thinks they may have been spotted. Tina and Lisa are nearby. They went after Rodis when he abandoned his watch, and Tina explains that she was always suspicious of him. They debate going back to get Yuji's help, but decide that he is not cut out for fighting. Rodis attacks after hearing a noise, but we see that Yuji was able to rescue one of his slime with a stealth spell. Rodis arrives at his destination and explains to a man that this time his party has 2 valuable girls and a random guy. He says that they can just leave the guy though, since he will probably just end up getting killed on his own. It becomes clear to Yuji now, Rodis has been joining parties to capture and sell the members. Rodis says the girls will soon be revealed by the traps in the forest, and the man states that calamity comes beneath the blue moon. A subordinate mocks the quote and is made to regret it. The girls decide to leave but just end up triggering the noise-making trap. Escape is hopeless and they realize they have no choice left but to fight. However, the group of men are shocked to see a strange-looking monster. They assume it triggered the trap and decide it would be best to not bother it. However, we see that the monster was just Yuji's creatures. He looks through his seemingly endless list of spells to find one that isn't too powerful. He doesn't know what most of them do, so he just guesses based on their names. He spell transfers the Range Frost medium spell to find that it actually did way more than he expected. Afterwards, Yuji lets the girls continue thinking that the slime are responsible for the attack, and Tina recognizes the infamous bandit, Gelios. The girls now realize that Yuji is more capable and wish they would have asked him for help earlier. However, Yuji thinks about his past and how he would rather not have people depend on him. Yuji clearly likes to keep things to himself, but the girls are completely okay with that. Tina says that they have lost a member and should head back to town. However, Yuji convinces them to continue the mission by explaining that his slime will allow them to avoid any encounters moving forward. They are stunned though when Yuji's idea of using his slime is launching it straight into the sky. Upon its return, the slime reveals that the area is safe for them to rest. They are impressed when the slime proved their usefulness when Yuji instructs them to create a camp for them. As they rest, Yuji thinks about the bandit's words. He determines that the Blue Moon of Salvation must have been behind the attack on the town from earlier, but is not sure about what calamity he spoke of. The next day, the group continue their search for the Earth Dragon. They are hit by a strong gust of wind and Tina explains that it comes from the Delight Canyon. They move forward and Yuji explains that his slime have yet to find the dragon. However, the girls are confident they will eventually after seeing how reliable they are. Yuji then remembers when he recently underwent his adventurer registration examination. Yuji didn't understand the results of the first test of magic when a crystal ball exploded. The next test required them to use their strongest attack on a boulder. Yuji used a fireball that did little damage, but the instructor was surprised. Partially because Yuji doesn't use a wand, but mostly because he was able to do unusual damage without an incantation. He explained that silent spells are high-level magic and typically weaken the spell. Yuji used the fireball again but said the spell out loud and completely destroyed the boulder. He decides that he must look for a weaker spell and finds one that actually limits all his power. He transfers his spells through the slime and tests out his limited abilities. The girls feel like something is off when they haven't run into any monsters. Yuji explains that the slime have been defeating them all and the girls are amazed by their strength. The skies darken suddenly and everyone becomes uneasy. Elsewhere, a priest named Stale informs Chief Rayard of the Blue Moon legend and how it warns of impending doom. An extremely powerful blast occurs, clearing the skies and revealing a gigantic beast. Yuji calls his creatures back to him and explains to the girls that the dragon that has appeared is much more powerful than the dragon they are searching for. They head to safety in the Delight Canyon since the gusts of winds keep the most dangerous monsters out. Yuji sends his team ahead and uses spell transfers to eliminate any threats. Yuji's party arrives to find the defeated beasts, and the girls are once again impressed with the slime's power. The slime make their way out of the canyon and report back that they have eliminated all the threats thanks to Yuji's spells. However, the ground beneath his party's feet begins to rumble, and the Earth Dragon emerges. It's obvious now that it hid underground so that it would be able to avoid the gusts of wind. The girls run for cover, but Yuji explains that he wants to try and attack it. Tina thinks he's insane since there is no way he stands a chance, but Yuji is extremely confident and decides to start off with some weak magic. It doesn't do much, but he also doesn't want to make too much of a scene. He narrowly avoids the dragon's attack and decides to have all his slime use the rock attack at once. The girls can tell the dragon isn't taking any damage and become worried when Yuji is cornered. However, a gust of wind stops the monster and we see that Yuji had planned it from the start. The dust from his rock magic, coupled with the wind, has created a screen that will hide his attack. Yuji uses a spell to reveal the beast, and the Hellfire of Decimation to defeat it. The girls are glad to see that he is alive. Tina assumes that he had the slimes ignite fuel that's buried under the ground to defeat the dragon, and Yuji just goes along with it. Afterward, they return to the guild. Their job was simply to find the Earth Dragon, so the guild operator is stunned to hear that they actually managed to defeat it. Yuji shows her the proof, and the group are then the ones that are amazed when she shows them their earnings. The job, combined with the bounty for Gelios, has rewarded them with 14 million yuan. Chief Rayard brings Yuji to a meeting since he was the first person to see the Blue Dragon of Delight. He would like a detailed description of the dragon, but Yuji does him one better. He scours his list of spells to find Thoughtography and transfers the spell to reveal a perfect image of it on paper. The members of the meeting have never seen anything like it and credit the slime for its work. Stale then shows them the Book of Legends. Several mysteries remain since the book has missing pieces, but there is a clear section on the Blue Dragon. It states the dragon once appeared and grew under the dark sky, wiping out an entire continent within 3 days. It took a divine emissary with the power to rival gods to defeat it. Rayard explains that no one like that exists these days though. He then remembers that a spirit summoning ritual was carried out 30 years ago. It was meant to summon a spirit 1 week ago today in order to ward off coming calamity. There are no signs that it was successful though. Just then, it becomes dark and Yuji's slime explains that the blue dragon has grown much bigger. He reveals it to everyone there and they begin to panic. The legend seems to be true and they wonder if the end of the world is coming in 3 days. The chief deems it an emergency and decides that they will attack the dragon the next morning with all the power they have. The girls find Yuji to tell him that they will be joining him in the fight and the huge bonus they will receive for doing it. Their confidence is higher than ever, knowing that Yuji and his slime will be there. Afterward, Father Stale formally introduces himself and gives Yuji a priceless relic in the hopes that he will find a good use for it. He analyzes it to find that it is called the Dagger of Kethis and it will focus the wielder's abilities at the tip of its blade. Yuji wonders why he was chosen, but Stale simply says because the Divine have deemed it so. That night, Yuji thinks about how the coming battle will be difficult and a lot of lives will be lost. Just then, his slime explains to him that the blue dragon has once again started to grow. For a brief moment, Yuji recalls the end of his examination. He wanted the instructor to clarify what he meant when he called Yuji's magic unusual. Yuji assumed that he meant it was unusually weak, but the instructor reveals that he meant it was too strong. After thinking for a moment, Yuji decides that he can't waste any more time and will attack the dragon now. Thank you for watching part 1. Future parts will be in a pinned comment when they become available.